Hi, it's Nathaniel Whiston here and welcome to Writers of West Anglia, and today I'm travelling to the village of Shepreth. It's to the northeast of Meldreth, to the west of Foxton and to the northwest of Duxford. It's in South Cambridgeshire and it's in West Anglia. I'm going to be profiling a man born in 1818 in Trier in Germany. Now, before you stop watching thinking there's no West Anglian connection, hold your horses because there is one. This isn't Writers of the West Rhineland Palatinate, this is Writers of West Anglia. He was a famous journalist, socialist, economist, every ist you care to name really. Philosophist, and he was of course a writer. I am of course talking about Karl Marx. Some of Marx's most famous works include The Poverty of Philosophy, Wage, Labour and Capital, and perhaps most famously of all, Das Kapital, which was so good that he turned it into a trilogy. I haven't actually read any of those books. I'm obviously familiar, sort of, with Marx's writings, with his teachings. It doesn't seem too important for me to know the ins and outs of all of Marx's ideas. In 1842, while working as a journalist at Rheinische Zeitung, Karl Marx took a trip to England. And on that trip to England, he just happened to take a journey from London to Cambridge. Now, if you care to look at a map, you'll see that a journey from London to Cambridge takes you right through West Anglia. And that's exactly what he did. And in his journal, should I say, he wrote about his trip along what is now known as the A10, commenting on what he saw, and he had positive recollections of his time in this region. So that's why today I'm going to Shepreth, which is on the A10, and we're going to have a look to see some of the landscapes and views that Marx enjoyed back in 1842 when he came to visit West Anglia. So there, Jeremy, I'll warn you now about this one. I'm absolutely exhausted. I didn't get much sleep last night. My housemate Billy has had to look after his mum's dog, an Alsatian called Candy, and the dog has to sleep in the garden at night, but for some reason the dog doesn't like to sleep. It just barks non-stop for 8 hours, and well, yeah, you try and sleep through that, it's not easy. I mean, it's bad enough living with those guys as it is, but now they've thrown a dog into the equation. It's not getting any better. So yeah, I just won't sleep for a couple of weeks until his mum comes back from Torremolinos. I've gone the wrong bloody way. Flipping heck. Right, took a bit of a detour. If you're doing a video about Karl Marx on the A10, then it's no good going on the A505, but we're getting back on track now. A10. I've come the wrong way again. I've gone the wrong way. I went towards the A10, but I was on the south part of it rather than the north side of it. But it's fine because we're having a detour through Royston. That's out the window there. I don't know if you can see that very well, but Marx did come through here. Stopped in some other places, Ware, Cheshunt, Broxbourne, not important, they're not West Anglian, but Royston is, and he came through here. And you can get a glimpse of it through the window, you can't see much. I'm not going to get out and walk around here because I think we're going to have a lot more excitement going to Shepreth. I've signed up to one of those dating apps, Jeremy. Remember I told you that that's something I'd never do? Well, I've gone and done it. No luck so far. And we're here. We're in Shepreth. So this is Shepreth. Shepreth means sheep stream. It was used back in the 16th, 15th centuries and earlier as a place where people on their way to Cambridge would wash their sheep. I've seen no sheeps or streams here today, so perhaps this practice has discontinued. The A10. Marx in his diary spoke about smooth roads, and we can see today they're still looking pretty smooth. He talks about polite and conscientious coachmen and good looking horses. He came on a stagecoach, he wouldn't have come in a car. This is a view that Marx would have seen back in 1842. It wouldn't have changed much at all. It's a very typical West Anglian landscape, very flat, and just a small hill over there. And I happen to find a quote from Marx, which I think is very interesting, bearing in mind this view which I'm showing to you right now. He said, "On the level plain, simple mounds look like hills, and the imbecile flatness of the present bourgeoisie is to be measured by the altitude of its great intellects." So I think it's very interesting that Marx, after coming to West Anglia, came up with an analogy about hills, flatness, bourgeoisie, all that kind of stuff. He used the analogy of the land, which he must have got from West Anglia, because Germany, where he's from, is very hilly. So West Anglian impact on Marx right there, evidence right there. The A10 is just over there. I've just come onto this public footpath in Shepreth. It's a bit quieter. It's entirely possible that Marx said to his stagecoachman, "Can you just pull up here? I just want to have a look around, see what it's like," because this was his first glimpse of English rural life. He'd obviously seen the big city of London, but he didn't know how it was for those of us out here in the countryside. And this would have been it. Geese. In the year before Marx came to England that first time, he caused quite a stir back in Germany. He and a friend were on a pub crawl, and they ended up stealing 2 donkeys and went riding through the town. Marx was a man who had flaws, he had vices. And I've got a Boeing 747 flying overhead. Marx famously said that he himself was not actually a Marxist. It's a shame to hear that. He must have suffered from a lot of self-loathing. He didn't even like his own theory that he came up with. On the plus side, a lot of people did, and hopefully, knowing how popular his ideas were, that would have given him a bit more self-esteem. Look at this, eh? This would have got right up Marx's nose. The ruling class is at it again. Got this lovely looking lake over here. No fishing, no swimming, private property, stay off. That's to us proles, that is. The ruling class is at it again. Unbelievable. The red arrows or something keep interrupting me. Look at that, can you see them? It's like the Battle of Britain's going on. I know Marx was in West Anglia for only a very brief amount of time, but let's talk about the butterfly effect. If I went to Yokohama in Japan and accidentally stood on a butterfly and crushed it, it could suddenly changed the whole course of events throughout the entire world. So let's say Marx didn't come to West Anglia. Perhaps he wouldn't have gone on to write Das Kapital. He wouldn't have developed Marxism. We wouldn't have Lenin and Stalin and Russia and China with the guy with the red book, and Castro and Cuba and Vietnam and all these other places which were communist. The whole world could have been different if Marx hadn't have travelled along that road beside me right there. Something to think about, isn't it? That's just landed on my hand there. I didn't want to bring it up on here, but I just want you to know that I know Lucy's got a new boyfriend, and I know that you and Liz found out about it, and I'm annoyed you didn't tell me. I'm annoyed you didn't mention it, because you could have done, but you didn't. And we're supposed to be friends. That's what friends do. Talk to each other about stuff like that. I'll forget it. It was in 1844 when Marx first met Engels, just 2 years after coming to West Anglia. And you can just imagine the meeting, can't you? The two of them for the first time. Hi Carl, hi Fred, how's it going? Yeah, I've got a great story. I was in a place called West Anglia a couple of years ago. It was amazing there. You should go sometime. Oh, really? Yeah, that sounds really good. I'll have to go. Where is it? Well, if you get a map of Anglia, the television region, which doesn't exist yet, but whatever, the west side of that, you go there and there's all this lovely countryside and towns, cities, villages. It's a really nice place, Fred. You should go. Oh, yeah, cheers, Carl. I think I will, yeah. And then, a few years later, they collaborated on Das Kapital. And here is a fine West Anglian view, and one that Marx would have seen, and let's just come out and say it, fell in love with. Let's not forget that it was only 7 years later that Marx returned to England permanently to live, and it was here he spent the rest of his life before passing away at the age of 64, now buried in Highgate Cemetery. But it was here, West Anglia, where he came and his love for this country blossomed. It was here in West Anglia where, as a young man, he came and his ideas began to formulate. His thoughts about the world began to crystallise. West Anglia helped form him. Yeah, obviously Germany did as well, and he lived in France and all these other places too. But West Anglia played a part in that. Look, I found the stream. Shepreth sheep stream. There it is, that's where they wash their sheep. I'm glad I found that. Jeremy. Pretty straightforward this one, yeah? You know what to do. Why I'm still getting used to edit this, I have no idea, but there you go. Don't muck it up. Workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. Inspirational words from Karl Marx there, and words I'm going to pay attention to when I actually manage to get myself back into work. I hope you've enjoyed the trip to Shepreth today, where we've seen the West Anglian landscapes that inspired Karl Marx. I hope to see you again next time. I'm Nathaniel Whiston, and this was Writers of West Anglia. Goodbye.